This is Viterbi Voices.
Coming to you from the University of Southern California, Viterbi School of Engineering.
We're here to give you the inside scoop about research, classes, student life, and so much more.
All of these shared from our students, faculty, and other members of our USC community. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Viterbi Voices. This is Emily Powis, one of your co-hosts. Unfortunately, Paul can't join us today, but I do have a very wonderful guest. Do you want to introduce yourself, Mark?
Yeah, of course. Hey, everybody. My name is Mark. I'm a senior studying mechanical engineering, and I'm from Diamond Bar, California.
Awesome. And do you want to tell us a little bit about what your episode is about today?
Yeah, so in this episode, we really take a deep dive into NSBE, or the National Society of Black Engineers. We tell about all the support systems available through NSBE, as well as do a deep dive into the national conference. And so the national conference was actually about 2-3 weeks back, where USC NSBE brought about 30 students. And so Victoria and Jevon, both who are part of the Region 6 board, as well as our new chapter president, who was just elected this past week, will be getting on and speaking with us.
Really awesome. I'm really looking forward to it. So let's just jump in.
Hello, everybody. For all the listeners, today I am joined with Jevon and Victoria, two other Black engineering students in the National Society of Black Engineers. So let's kind of start off with introducing yourselves. How about name, major, year, hometown, maybe like a hobby?
Sure, I can go ahead. My name is Jevon. I'm a sophomore and I'm studying computer science and business administration. I'm originally from Mount Laurel, New Jersey, and then a hobby that I've sort of stuck through since like high school and now in college has been photography.
I'm Victoria. I'm also a sophomore and I'm studying mechanical engineering and I'm from Inglewood, California. A hobby, I've been really trying to learn guitar. I'm not very good, but it's a process.
How's that going?
It's not going well. The thing is, I say I'm trying, but I feel like I haven't touched my guitar in like 3 months. But it's something that I think about doing a lot. So
That's the first step.
I know. I once upon a time knew how to play guitar, then I forgot how to read music, and it was all downhill from there. But yeah, so thank you all for joining me. In this podcast, we're going to do a deep dive of the National Society of Black Engineers, which we will be referring to as NSBE for the rest of this podcast. So let's kind of kick this off. What is NSBE and what is its mission?
okay, I could say the mission of NSBE is to increase the number of culturally responsible Black engineers who excel academically, succeed professionally, and positively impact the community. So NSBE really operates kind of on 3 levels. One level is like the collegiate level, which like most college campuses will have like a chapter, and they'll have their own like leadership there. So like a president who like really does a lot of the planning for the vision of the chapter. And then NSBE is also on the regional level. There's 6 different regions which cover like all of the United States and then internationally as well. And like there's a regional executive board also that helps like basically connect the regions and then execute a vision for the region as well. And then there's the national board that really does the whole vision and goal setting for the entire society. And one thing that I think is really cool about NSBE is that it's like completely student run. I know that was something that surprised me at first, but like even like the national board, like the chairperson is like a college student. She's like a graduate student. So it's really like a great opportunity for like collegiate students to like have leadership roles that like are not only providing them opportunities like professionally, but just giving them a lot of leadership experience.
Yeah, I think specifically at like the collegiate level, The little like one sentence that I use to describe NSBE is just like a safe space or just like a place for Black engineers to gather. And I know that the mission is to like about increasing that number of Black engineers, and what the collegiate chapters really do is just like make sure every engineer on campus feels supported, feels encouraged, and is given all the resources to succeed. And that's really what like the thing that I've taken away.
So what are your current roles in the organization?
So in terms of myself for the chapter on campus, I am serving as the treasurer. So that involves like working with the rest of the e-board and the rest of those positions. And then just in charge of financing our events. So that takes care of paying for like the galas that we have or the dinners with faculty, and sorting out everything with the funding board, and then also at the same time making sure we have enough money coming in from corporate sponsors, from donations of any sort. So really just making sure that we have the money to run the club successfully, and then doing the processes with that money once it comes in.
Yeah. I'm a member of USC NSBE, just a normal member, but I'm also on the regional executive board. This year, I'm the Torch Chair, which stands for Technical Outreach and Community Help. And that's really the member of the REB who focuses on the more community facing aspects of NSBE rather than like just membership. So some things are like reaching out to non like engineers and strengthening NSBE's like name and connection there. And next year I'll be the Region 6 chair, which is basically like the person who really oversees the region. I'm in charge of the regional executive board, which are like a group of teams, and which is my team, like in who basically help and guide the chapters and the chapter officers in their work. And then I also will sit on like the national executive board and represent our region nationally.
Congrats, that sounds like a big achievement.
Thank you.
So Jevon, I actually heard through the grapevine that you are thinking of assuming the role of president next year. Is that true?
Yeah, well, okay. I I really love the chapter, the NSBE chapter here, and like Victoria has been trying to convince me and other people to try and step up to the regional or executive boards, which I am not a fan of because I think we need to make sure that our chapter on campus is as strong as possible. And I think that my best or the best way that I can contribute to our NSBE chapter is by stepping up in leadership. So our elections are coming up soon, and who knows what will happen, but I am excited for the future with this organization.
Yeah,
That
because
was,
you'll be
that was
at
a
all the
presidential
meetings.
answer for you. That was a very politician way to go
Good.
about
That
that.
was good. You'll be at, I'm excited to see you at all the meetings, Jevon.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
expected to be there.
So I know you had mentioned previously that on the chapter level, it is just about creating a safe space for Black engineers. Can you kind of mention or dive into what opportunities the organization provides for its members at the collegiate level?
Yeah, in terms of fostering that community and like that safe space, or just like okay, so I mean I could address the other types of opportunities as well, but so we as a chapter we meet every Monday. This semester it's Monday night that we're meeting for about an hour, and those meetings are our general body meetings, and they range from most of the times we'll have food, we'll have sponsors that'll come in to sort of speak about their companies and the opportunities in internships or in full-time positions that they have. They'll speak about their companies. And then if we don't have a company, or even if we do, we'll usually end the night with some sort of activity or some sort of game, really trying to build that community, make sure everybody knows each other, make sure everybody's having a great time, and really just, feeling comfortable with each other. In terms of like those opportunities or how we sort of make everybody, how we create that community, but in terms of other opportunities like internships, like professional opportunities, at the same time, at those meetings, like I said, companies are coming with the intention to hire or at least interview members of our club. So at the end of almost every single presentation, they'll say, here's the link for applications, fill out this QR code, and then we're going to make sure that we look at your application coming from NSBE and sort of push you to like whatever that next round is, or make sure that recruiters are getting an eye on those applications. So those opportunities that a lot of people appreciate, like directly, and everybody loves the fact that you can have that fun time on a Monday night. But what's the most easy to see is that there's direct job opportunities.
I would kind of say that the food's the easiest to see, because I know for myself personally, as a senior, those Monday night dinners where I don't have to cook, my time is limited. That's golden.
That is true.
What were you gonna say, Victoria?
The meetings where we have a great meal is when a lot of people end up showing out. That's
Yeah.
the most
We even have
popular.
some extras
Yes,
usually.
yeah.
That sounds great. No, I was just gonna say that NSBE holds a lot of like other social events too outside of general meetings. We have like study nights, I think twice a week, and those are really great opportunities because there's not food, there's snacks, but like anything you could eat is good. And then we have one of my favorite events, I think this past year, was the Black Excellence Gala. Is that what it's called? The night with faculty? I'm sorry.
Well, there were.
What is it called? I'm talking about the
You're
night
describing
with
two separate events, but
Okay.
yeah.
I'm talking. What is the night of faculty called?
Evening with faculty, yeah.
Evening. Okay.
Yeah.
One of my favorite events this past semester was Evening with Faculty, which is like a dinner that NSBE hosts, and we can invite our faculty members. And it's really just a great opportunity to network and meet people that you're like actually going to be taking classes with. And it's also just a great opportunity to see that like you have like professors that care about you and are like interested in learning about the Black experience at USC.
Yeah. Victoria mentioned it, but the Black Excellence Gala was also one of my like favorite events this past semester. That took place, I think it was towards the end of the first semester, and it sort of served as just a celebration of everything that everyone accomplished, both academically, professionally, and also like artistically. We had a bunch of students that performed, whether it was singing, dancing. We had a live band at some point just to perform in front of us while we ate like a nice catered dinner. So that was a great way to sort of celebrate as the semester came to a close, and then get ready for the next semester that was coming up.
So since you're both sophomores, did either of you two know about NSBE prior to college? I know you had started at USC online, so it might have been a little bit tricky to kind of get involved in NSBE, but how was your kind of introduction to NSBE?
Yeah, I think I kind of got lucky because my mom was like was heavily involved in her NSBE chapter back when she was an undergrad. So sort of as I was preparing to go to like any college, it was like, oh, you're going to be part of the NSBE chapter, right? And I was like, yes. But that being said, specific to USC, one of the first times I had a chance to come out on campus and do a little tour was right around the time when the NSBE chapter won chapter of the year. So I remember like it was either myself or my mom who I was with who asked a question about, oh, how's the NSBE chapter? And the fact that they can answer like, we just won chapter of the year, was where I first realized like, oh, this is a serious thing that's going on, and it would be beneficial to join. So once I enrolled, it was just a matter of like finding how to join, which was very easy.
Yeah, we're winning next year, right?
That's facts. We are winning next year.
It's always the goal.
It's the grassroots movements. We got to start them now. Plant the seeds.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. NSBE has like a program called the Pre-College Initiative Program, and it's called NSBE Junior. I think that's what it's referred to. And my brother was actually a part of that while I was in high school. So that was like my first introduction to NSBE because I started like volunteering and helping out there. And then the NSBE Junior chapter that my brother was in actually like moved here to USC and like started doing all their work. So I knew that like USC NSBE like had a great program that was also doing a lot of programming. And then Jevon flames me for telling this story, but when I came to USC for like some admissions event in like November, I remember like talking to the NSBE booth. Was like one of the moments that really made me want to come to USC specifically, because I talked to the people there and they're like super kind and welcoming, and you could tell that they like really believed in like the resources that USC gave them and that the NSBE community gave them. So that made me really excited, and I think like that whole experience made me like when I come to USC, or like when I started as a freshman, made me really want to join NSBE and made it like one of my top priorities.
I think both of us kind of had stories of like how we heard about it before. A majority of the people that are in NSBE had like very little idea what it was before stepping foot on campus, which is not a bad thing at all. Like the Center for Engineering Diversity at Viterbi does a great job of making sure everyone knows the resources that are available. So even though I knew what NSBE was, I was still getting emails like, "Oh, you're a black engineer. Join NSBE. Join NSBE. Join NSBE." So there's ample I don't know, like word that's put out there to become a part of it. So you don't have to have the same kind of connection. Honestly, it's not so frequent.
Yeah, I would say my journey to NSBE was kind of similar to what you just described. I had no idea what it was coming into college, but when I came for USC's, I believe it was Admitted Students Day, I met Shayna, who was an ex-USC NSBE president, and she actually won chapter of the year her year. So my very first year, we were coming off of a win, and that really kind of inspired me to do better and to join. And so we were rolling pretty deep to all the conferences and stuff of that nature. So we do have to instill that sense of pride back into our chapter. I do think COVID kind of shook it up a little bit, but from both of your experiences, starting online, how would you say the transition back to in-person NSBE events has been?
Well, I think my perspective and Victoria's is going to be a little different from yours, knowing the fact that that you knew what it was like before. But
Yeah.
I enjoyed the NSBE meetings that were online. That like I just said, it was kind of all that I knew. We were still meeting weekly. We were joined on Zoom. We were playing games. We were meeting each other and all that. And I felt the connection to the community. So coming on campus made it feel even better when like I was doing the same sort of stuff just in person with people that I had met online or with people that I hadn't met yet. So in terms of the transition, I think it was relatively smooth. That being said, I don't think I saw anything that was lacking. Like nothing from I sort of got in relatively like, I don't know, when it was a developing process of online, some things were missing, whatever, but I didn't know what was missing. I still had a good experience. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I don't have like anything to compare it to, but I really enjoyed, like, I think getting to go to in-person events this year. I was like, oh, like this is so cool. And this is like, I thought it was cool online. And then I come here and like we're in person. And I think one opportunity in particular is like we went to the national convention, which I'm sure we'll get into soon. But like last year, it was online, but it wasn't like on Zoom. We were like avatars. And I remember like making my avatar like run around the fake convention center. And because it was online and it was also during school, like I didn't go to anything because I was like, why would I do this? My registration was free. So it's like I could just make the avatar and run around and yeah. But this semester, but this year, like it was in person and it was in Anaheim actually. And I like didn't really go back to school. I just left and stayed in Anaheim. And like being able to be fully immersed in the experience, that was really special. And just actually see people and not avatars was like a great experience. And I think like that really like reminded me what a special community NSBE is that I really like didn't get to see the full extent of online.
Yeah, I definitely remember that. Was it Verbella or
Yeah, it was
what was the
Verbella.
platform?
Yeah.
It was kind of cool. You could build your own avatar and like walk
The
around.
Sims.
And
Yeah.
then there was those spaces to where you could like hop into a one-on-one chat by like just going over to like a table. So that was pretty cool. But Jevon, did you have a similar experience online or?
In terms of the convention?
Yeah.
Yeah, I joined the convention, but it was the same thing where it was like school was also online and it was also during class, so I just ended up going to classes for most of that. And I think like having that experience also made the in-person convention seem like incredible because that was my first perspective on what it was. But I do remember having the avatar running around. I think I spoke to one company, just like walked, like I'm doing air quotes right now, but like walked up to their booth and started speaking to them, which was interesting. Made some connections still, but it was a far cry from what we experienced a few weeks ago when we were in person.
So let's just dive into it now that we've been hinting at it for so long. What is the national convention? how was it in person? What kind of experience was it like? Was there anything that shocked you, et cetera, et cetera?
I'll let the region chair go ahead.
Okay, so National Convention is the opportunity where all NSBE chapters and like professional members and pre-collegiate members all gather in one central spot, and it usually happens in the spring of every year. And I think this year there are like 11K people registered, so it's like a big thing. And I think one of the main draws of the National Convention is the career fair. There were like, I think like well over 100 companies there who like are actively looking to hire people and interview people on site. And that's like a really special experience because like it's a really expedited process a long time. I know a bunch of people who got like offers and interviews, so that's really cool. And then also there's hospitality suites, which are opportunities to like casually network with companies, and those always have free food, so that's good. And then there's also workshops put on by companies throughout the day, so it's like a great time for professional development because there's so many companies there that are looking to like engage with the students and professionals there. There's also a bunch of social events. I can talk, my favorite one that we did this time was we did like a NSBE versus event where like versus is like that song competition where like two people play a song and then you cheer or whatever to figure out who has the best one. We did it by region, like there's 6 regions and our region 6 won. Shout out to us. We have the best song. So that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think like Victoria hit a lot. The piece that I can address is just in terms of like what was shocking, as you asked. I remember like both the first time we sort of got to Anaheim and also the first time there was like one of the events that was open to everyone to sort of gather everybody in like the auditorium. It was incredible to see like that amount of black people in one spot, let alone engineers. So I was just like standing, kind of just staring, just like, wow, that's a lot of people. It's a lot of people in general. But then just to see a lot of people that look like me, coming from a school where like you don't see that as frequently, was really amazing and like inspiring. So yes, the career fair was also, it gave lots of opportunities, and it was cool to see how like excited and willing to help a lot of the recruiters were. Like they were, as Victoria said, ready to give interviews, give offers, and really make sure that like your foot was getting in the door, you were getting these opportunities. So that was great to see. And then just having a good time with the chapter and getting, I don't know, bonding in the times that we could.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with just the initial shock of seeing that many Black people in one room. I know my first national conference was in Detroit was it 2019? Wow, I'm old. But it was just a shock to see so many Black engineers in one room, and it was inspiring because, it made you realize you're not the only one. I know, did any of you participate in that Center for Engineering Diversity summer program before your freshman year?
VSI?
Virtually.
Yeah.
Yes, virtually.
And so I know for our VSI, which is Viterbi Summer Institute, for those of you that don't know, but for the Viterbi Summer Institute, we actually did see a lot of people drop off, but a lot of the engineers, or at least a lot of the Black engineers in that program ended up, sticking with it because I do think NSBE was kind of like a rock for them. So I know you had mentioned it before, there were some activities at NSBE. Jevon, do you want to speak on some of the competitions there were there?
Sure, yeah. So they throughout the entire conference there were different competitions that you could sign up beforehand. And I remember hearing, I don't know, Mark and other students mention like this tech bowl, this academic tech bowl, and I love trivia. And my concern was that like I get to the conference and did not remember to sign up for anything. So I was upset because I'm a trivia guy and I wanted to participate in this tech bowl thing. And to I don't know, to aid my concerns, Mark's like, all right, come, we can do it. So I don't know, you sort of saved me on that vein. But the tech bowl ended up being basically like this Jeopardy style rounds of engineering questions from like different different subjects in school: chemistry, biology, computer science, EE, stuff like that. So we competed with a team of 5 people, 4 players and like 1 alternate, and went through the first round. Advanced past the first round. We were like the top 4 teams, I think, and then ended up placing in second place. So that was a really fun experience. It was hard. We definitely did not get a lot of questions right in the second round, especially, as did none of the teams. Those questions were ridiculously hard, but we did well enough to medal in that sense. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
We
we
got
beat
second
Cornell.
place.
Beat Cornell,
Woo!
yeah.
That's our claim to fame. I could die happy now.
That was exciting because I'm really competitive, and I don't know. I was just looking for ways to win, and it's at a certain point, like when you realize that the questions are really hard, you got to think of other ways to win. So I remember like for the first round, we legitimately were doing well. We were getting a decent amount of questions right and like picking the right ones to answer. I think what saved us in the first round was that there was an electrical engineering category, and we had a master's student in electrical engineering on our team. We didn't even realize this before we started the game, and he just said, "Oh, by the way, like I'm an EE masters," and we just went rock through that category. But for the second round, we were utterly confused on a lot of the on a lot of the categories. So what we ended up doing was basically just buzzing in on every single question. They changed the rule where it was like only the first team to buzz in could answer. There were no steals. So we realized like, hey, if we can just buzz in and get it wrong, at least nobody else is going to get the points. So tried to buzz in on every single question and just knock the questions off. And it ended up working clearly. So I don't know, meta strategies.
Work smarter, not harder. Or maybe it's the other way around.
Not well. We weren't smart.
And hard.
Yeah. I
Hard
mean,
and smart.
people tended, or people were getting a little upset with how we were playing, but
Don't hate the player, hate the game.
exactly.
Exactly. There's also like another cool competition. I did not take part of this, but I watched it. It's the Boeing fight competition. It's basically like teams of like 4, I think, from different schools create gliders using, there's like a whole bunch of parameters and like requirements for material and size and stuff. And it's the competition is just to see like whose glider can go the farthest. It was like a huge event. I didn't really notice they had food. That's always great. And like some of the gliders went really far. So it's super fun to watch.
Yeah, they took over like the entire, basically, like I don't even know what convention like hall,
Convention.
pretty
Oh,
much.
yeah.
And we're just launching airplanes off of a
Yeah.
table. It was cool to watch.
That's cool. So can some of y'all describe, and y'all, so can either of you two describe what that career fair aspect kind of looked like? Your initial thoughts, the setup, the opportunities from it. I know you'd mentioned like on the spot interviews and offers.
Yeah. So the way that the career fair was set up was basically, I think it was both. It was running for 2 days throughout the conference, and you go in and then you're basically greeted by hundreds of companies and like grad schools that were looking to hire or looking to admit in the case of the schools. And there were companies from like literally everything: SpaceX, Tesla, American Express, like all over the place. And it wasn't just engineering things; it was companies that were looking to hire engineers. So there were tons of representatives, either recruiters or like active engineers at the companies. So you could ask questions based on like the job process or just about experiences at that company. And then there were ample opportunities to connect with the recruiters, with the engineers, and build that relationship. As well as a bunch of the companies were just giving away free things. Like I know Disney had tote bags, Amazon had tote bags. I got a mug from American Express. So you walk out there with like less resumes, hopefully, but more more just free swag.
Wow, that's good. I got a really cool pen from Disney. It's like a Mickey Mouse pen. It looks like a straw. I don't know why they made that design choice, but it's really cute.
Yeah. No, I know that they did have opportunities for interviews there. and I know this because of you, Mark. So how about you
Yeah,
explain
so why don't you talk about it? Yeah.
your interview experience?
Yeah, so it actually all happened really fast. So very first day of the conference, I ended up getting an email. So they take the conference registry list, where you kind of submit your resume prior to the conference, and some companies can reach out directly, or you can go during the career fair. And so Tesla had actually reached out prior to the conference starting and said, we have interview slots on these days for a chassis engineering position. So I was basically taking a shot in the dark, but they essentially just assigned me a time slot to come interview. And so I went and swung by the booth. The interview was supposed to be in the Tesla, which would have been really cool.
In the
But they
car?
were running, yeah, in the car. So like you would use like the drawing pad as your
Oh, they don't
assistant.
have like whiteboards or something?
The whiteboard on the
No,
The
iPad.
whiteboard on the car.
yeah.
Okay.
So that would have been really cool, but they were running late, so I didn't get to sit in the Tesla. I was on a park bench instead. But it was a really cool opportunity, and I really enjoyed it because I was able to connect with some of those engineers. Um, didn't end up getting the role, but you know they did say they would go back to some other teams and pass my information along, which was really cool, and I really appreciate that. Um, yeah, and I would say it's like somewhat similar to a lot of other companies as well. I know Victoria, were you looking, or you had already signed your offer for this
Yeah.
upcoming summer?
Mhm. I did get to meet more people at like where I was, because I don't think like where I'm entering this summer, I didn't actually know like any Black people who had worked there. So it was nice to like meet Black people at the company and hear about their experiences.
Yeah, and so I know I was with Jevon for one of the days as well. Congratulations, you're working at McKinsey, and Victoria, you're at Boston Scientific this summer. Did I get that
Yeah.
correctly?
Mhm.
Cool. So it sounds like both of you had went up to the respective booths and just kind of like met other Black engineers.
Yeah, no, it was cool for me because I when I went up to the McKinsey booth, I wasn't sure if I was just if they basically had to staff the booth with recruiters or if it was going to be like people that worked there. And luckily, everyone that was there was just consultants or software engineers for the company or for the firm. So I had like a 15-20 minute conversation just about life at the company, quelled some of my fears and answered a bunch of my questions. And then now we're connected on LinkedIn. So if I have anything else that I want to reach out with, he gave me the opportunity to go about that. But yeah, I don't know. It was probably one of the first or second booths that I went up to just because I was a little nervous to go to the rest of the companies and go put myself out there. But checked out where I already had an offer for first because they couldn't give me any bad news. Yeah.
They took it back. They took it back.
Yeah. No.
That's funny. So in all, how did the conference compare to the virtual one?
It was a lot better.
Thank you, Victoria.
If she won't go in depth, I guess I can. I I didn't. I mean, I didn't even participate much in the virtual one, but like I think I barely went to the career fair when it was online, and the career fair was much more inviting, and it just made more sense in person. Online, like I mentioned, I just walked up to I again virtually walked up to the companies and just had a little conversation, but it's not the same as when you're in the room with them, shaking their hand, giving them your resume, and having a conversation like that. Um, so I don't know. Everything just felt more alive as well. Everybody was excited to be there. When it was virtual, it was kind of just like, oh, we're here, we're excited. But yeah, the energy was pumping in Anaheim.
Yeah, I'll add now. I agree. It was nice. I think like the virtual component, it was hard to talk to people because you were just typing it. It wasn't like because we were avatars, it wasn't like
Oh, you didn't do the chat? You
vocal.
could speak. You could speak to
Oh, you
people.
could? Oh,
Yeah.
I did speak because I gave a speech. I remember. I did speak, but I didn't want to like everyone could hear. I don't want
Okay,
everyone to hear
that's
my
true. That's true.
conversation. Like you
Yeah.
just walk up next to me. But I didn't get to talk to a lot of other people. But while I was in person, Like it was really easy to just talk to people like in front of me in line at Starbucks or like waiting next to me at the career fair, just anywhere. And like I think like one of the most important and special aspects about NSBE is the community. So it's really good just to like make connections. I got a lot of new LinkedIn connections. That was great.
So this question is actually for Victoria. I know you were just elected the Region 6 chair, but what do you kind of have in the pipeline planned for our region?
Yeah, I think one of the things that I mainly want to do is just increase communication. I know with COVID and like we had a 5-person board last year, so it was a lot of us just taking over roles. It was a lot harder for us to communicate with chapters and really be there and support them rather than in other ways other than conferences and stuff. So I think one of my main goals this year is to just like be more present and be more engaged with chapters and like bringing things back like regional counterpart calls where like people on the regional executive board on their positions will meet with their chapter counterparts and just facilitating that connection and then also being there for advice as well, because I think like one of our main jobs as like the regional executive board is just to support our membership, and it's like a lot easier to do that if you're connected and like plugged in to what they're doing on their chapters.
That's awesome. And then for our prospective president, is that the right word? Perspective, up and coming.
Future, even though he doesn't say it.
Anyway.
No, you cannot. We cannot have a vote first. You will be assuming the role. I will not be voting for anyone else. But what do you kind of have in store for our chapter next year?
What do I have in store? So like this podcast is going to be running like this is taking place before I've spoken, before any election. But however, as I was kind of thinking of if I needed to speak before votes go in, I think that the main thing like that I was thinking for the chapter is just to develop a closer tie to the mission, and that happens in a few ways. One, again, as I mentioned, like my mom being a previous member, and I know Marcus kind of mentioned this, like a lot of chapters read the mission at the beginning of like every meeting, as the mission is like so important to NSBE nationally, regionally, and it should be for the chapter that it's should be what's driving every meeting. So that's like the first aspect of just like getting a personal connection to the mission, but at the same time, like the components of the mission that refer to like academic success, professional success, and then community service. I think those 3 aspects are how we can do better as a chapter. That being specifically like giving more direct and more, I don't know if I could say obvious professional opportunities and connections to internships and things like that. Focusing more heavily on how our chapter can help academic success, whether that is with the study nights or, I don't know, just finding other ways to make sure students are on track, make sure students are performing well. And then doing chapter-wide community service things, because there are opportunities that we send out every once in a while for like asking for volunteers, but I don't think, at least in the time that I've been here, we've done anything together as a chapter service-wise. And that's a great way, again, to keep helping that community. Well, keep helping the community like that you're helping, but as well as foster the NSBE community. So it's kind of twofold in the fact that of those benefits. But to sum it all up, just to get closer to the mission.
Awesome.
Use that as your speech. That was great. You just wrote it. I just heard it. That was good. My vote's in.
So I don't want to take up too much of your time, but as a last question, what advice do you have for a prospective Black student, whether they do decide to come to USC or go elsewhere on NSBE?
Is it too little to just say join? Like, no matter like if it is USC, if it's wherever, I think as a Black engineer, it's sort of like a requirement to join the NSBE chapter. I don't mean that as like, oh, like you're forced to join or anything like that, but it'll only do you good. I think it's a great way to get more involved on your campus, do yourself a huge solid professionally, and get those academic resources that might not be available or as obvious elsewhere. So the advice would be join NSBE.
Yeah. The only thing I can add to that is just to expand is to be engaged in NSBE as well, and like actively go to events and speak and communicate with your fellow members. I remember my freshman year, like I was a little bit scared at first, but like being engaged is really like how I like, which really what led me to like the roles I'm in now, just because like as a freshman I was going to meetings, and then like these two upperclassmen were like, oh, do you want to help us plan like our women in NSBE events? And I was like, sure. And then the same upperclassman was like, oh, do you want to join the regional executive board? I was like, sure. And then now I'm the chair of the board. So
Victoria just can't say no. That's what
yeah,
happens.
but like I think NSBE is really a place where like people want to give you opportunities and want you to succeed and excel. And I think being engaged in the chapter will really allow you to like take advantage of those opportunities.
I can say on a broader note, if I like to not be as specific as just join NSBE, like just general advice is that it's hard to, it's nearly impossible to tackle college alone. So however you want to like find your people or like just not be as independent, like it's going to be very beneficial to get a group and like I don't know, go through university with, because classes are so much harder when you're by yourself. Like social life is so much harder when you're by yourself. So NSBE is one way to go about that, but there are obviously many other organizations that are striving to do the same thing.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with both of those statements. One, the amount of opportunity, like it's there if you want to take it. But, even when I was joining, when I was a first year student, the ex-president at the time told me if there's one club to join, may it be NSBE. And that has kind of stuck with me until now, because it has been the one club that I've stuck with my entire time at USC, because it has kind of provided that support for me. I know one of the hardest classes I've ever taken, Calc 3, the study nights that NSBE had put on kind of like really helped me get help from my classmates. I know Kendall, Quayera, we all would go do our homework together, study together. So it's kind of a club just to make you excel.
Yep.
Cool.
Mark, you already called me out, but I'm gonna put this on tape to have you as the grad student liaison. How about that?
Yeah.
If I'm
joining.
here,
Yeah.
if I'm here, I'll do it.
There
We
we
have
go.
a deal.
There you go.
If no one does it, if I'm not here first semester, I will assume the role second semester. If no one does it,
So what you're saying is that I can't nominate you for elections.
you can nominate me. I'll go up and speak, but I just want to be real. I don't want to put up a front and then not be here and let the chapter down.
Okay, well that's fair. I respect that.
I will be your grad liaison though. And Victoria, do you have any recruitment efforts for the regional board?
I have
I don't think I can
recruitments
allow
all the
this. I don't think I can allow any further recruitment. We're being strung dry.
time.
Go ahead.
Join. I really think like joining the regional executive board has given me a lot of opportunities to see how NSBE actually works, and that has like made me closer to the organization. So everyone join the board.
Fair enough.
Perfect. Thank you all so much for joining me on this podcast. I definitely think it gave a deep dive into what NSBE is about and how it kind of, helps Black engineers in their
Educational pursuits.
There we go. Thank you,
Helps them
Jevon.
excel academically,
Yes.
succeed
Succeed
professionally.
professionally and positively
positively
impact the
impact-
community.
There you go.
All righty. Thank you both. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right, and we're back. I was just wondering, would you be willing to share like how NSBE has helped you in your undergrad experience?
Yeah, of course. So NSBE has really been the one club that has kept me like solid throughout my college career. I joined when I was a freshman, and I don't think I joined as early as I should have. I was, kind of like lackluster attendance my very first semester freshman year. Then I realized, the amount of opportunity that was available and support systems that NSBE had, as well as like the mentoring from upperclassmen. So that's how I kind of got started in NSBE, and just having the community of, other Black engineers really helped me out, just because there's not too many of us on campus. And when you're going to classes and not too many people look like yourself, kind of being able to have that space is invaluable.
Yeah, it's super cool. I think that's like a really common theme that I mean, Mark and I are both seniors, so we're like reflecting back on our experience. And I think pretty much every senior found like their community through like a specific club. And for me, it's more of like the outdoors clubs, and for Mark, it was NSBE. But I think like the number one comment is like I didn't get into it soon enough. I didn't like commit to it soon enough. So I think just like the number one thing is to try things out your freshman year and see what fits and what doesn't. And it's okay if certain things aren't like your speed. Like not everything's going to be what you want to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, if that's all, do you have anything else you want to say about the episode before we close it out?
No, I'm good. I think that pretty much sums it up. It was a really good deep dive from Victoria as well as Jevon. So I think they really covered everything about NSBE.
All right, awesome. Well, see you next week. Bye.
Bye.